Well, members of the church are fighting to preserve Easter as everyone is social distancing, and churches are at this moment trying to figure out how to make this happen. Millions of churchgoers are concerned about the coronavirus epidemic. Pope Francis actually hosted his Holy Thursday Mass in front of an empty St. Peter's Basilica at the Vatican. The ceremony was recorded and live streamed to viewers around the world. The Vatican's doing a similar broadcast for today's Good Friday service, Holy Saturday, and Easter Mass. But it's not only the Vatican with alternative options. Other churches around the world are working on innovative ways to congregate during the crisis. There are live streams that are increasingly popular, and some churches have even chosen to hold drive-up sermons ahead of Easter Sunday. Reverend Adriane Curtis joins us now. She's an associate pastor at the Carmel United Methodist Church in Carmel, Indiana. Reverend, thank you so much for joining us. I know it is so hard to have this Holy Week and folks not be able to congregate and gather. What has been your advice?
We have really, I think, just struggled to figure out the right way forward. And I know a lot of churches, it's just a question of trying to connect with people and continue to be the body of Christ. The church is not a building, it's the people. And that's what I think is so challenging. And so one of the things it's done is it's forced us to get creative and try some things that are outside of our comfort zone. So I know here in my context. Oh, sorry, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I was just going to say that in Carmel, we've been streaming worship services and trying to find ways to continue to reach out in our community, even though we need to keep safe distances.
I know there's been so much panic and a heightened sense of desperation around this, but I'm also curious, have you seen any sort of a renewed sense of spirituality among people in these difficult times?
That's a really good question. And actually, I believe so. I think there are a lot of people who are returning to the roots of what is it that we need to be happy? What is it to be alive and to be a community? And asking those hard questions, a pandemic causes us to do that. And because of that, even though we're not as able to do as many things at the church, we actually, I think, have a lot more people who are checking out religion and thinking about and hearing what are some of these messages that are coming. And the fact that it's happening right now during Easter, I think is almost fortuitous, because we have this good news of Jesus Christ in the midst of all of these horrible and challenging things we're facing. That's a reminder. I think people are craving that right now.
Mm. You know, it's also fascinating. I was speaking to my colleague Ian Lee in London, talking about how difficult it is even just to bury the dead, to be with people in their final moments. I'm curious about the funerals. You know, so many people aren't able to be there. If you're Jewish, shivas aren't allowed to be conducted. You know, you have to socially distance at this point. How has this new reality affected spiritual leadership?
I think we've just had to find ways to continue to minister in ways that are healthy, and it's forced us to be creative. So I've heard a lot of different ways that people have been dealing with funerals, but a really beautiful story. There was someone at one of my friends' churches who died of COVID-19, and they couldn't have everybody at the funeral. So she taped a memorial message, and then they had a graveside where people pulled up to the graveside, and they couldn't come close, but they just stood there kind of to stand watch at their cars, to pay respect to the person. So I think things like that are forcing us just to be creative and to really think about what are the things that are important as we move forward together.
Yeah, you know, it's so fascinating how it's been such a difficult time period for everyone around the world. Do you find hope? How do you find hope in these difficult times?
For me, I'm not just a pastor, I'm also a mom. And so
Mhm.
balancing all of this with my family at home, I know there are parents all over the country who have similar struggles of trying to figure out how do we work from home and still care for and be all the things we want to be for our families and our kids. And so when it comes to finding hope for me, it comes from the ways that I'm able to connect with people. And I think one of those ways has been every day. My daughter and I have been doing a daily devotion on Facebook Live. And it started just as a thing
Mm.
that her and I did together. But we decided we're doing this anyway. Why don't we share it with people on Facebook Live? And it's just an opportunity to just really be together and to talk about some of those hard questions. But the fact that I can do it with my daughter, it reminds me of that hope we have moving forward and the ways that truly we can keep loving each other even now.
That's such great advice, how to figure out ways to keep loving each other even during what is a very difficult time. Pastor Reverend Adriane Curtis, I want to thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, and have a wonderful and happy Easter.